And now, ladies and gentlemen, we love to do rankings here. I love ranking things. Top 10s, top 5s, I love them all. So today, as we get closer and closer to the season, I am going to give you my projected rankings for the Western Conference. I'm going to stick with these. Now, obviously, there's a crazy trade. I'll adjust to them a little bit. But these are the rankings that I'm sticking with going to the season. We're going to do the Western Conference this week. We're going to do the Eastern Conference next week. And then the week after that, we are going to give you our full NBA power rankings heading into this season. So without further ado, Lena, let's hit it. Let's go to number 15 in the Western Conference. And you shouldn't be that surprised, people. At number 15 in the Western Conference, it's going to be the Sacramento Kings because, look, the core is good. They got a couple nice young pieces. Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox. Here comes Marvin Bagley. I like Willie Cauley-Stein. I think he's a good defensive center for that team. But I don't really like their coaching staff. I still hate their front office. And let's just kind of be honest with ourselves here, guys. We don't need to really spend too much time on the Kings. They ain't going to win a lot of games. They're not going to reach 30 wins this year. I'd be surprised if they reach 25 wins this year. Like, they just don't have a lot of elite talent on this team yet. It's just not really there. Plus, someone has to lose games this year in the West. Somebody has to. Because I have 11 teams in the Western Conference this year that are going to end up with positive records. 11 teams with above 500 records just because how good the West is this year. So Sacramento coming in at number 15. Let's go to number 14 on our Western Conference rankings. At number 14, it's the Phoenix Suns. So they got DeAndre Ayton. They now have Mikal Bridges. They signed Trevor Ariza. They give Devin Booker a huge contract. They get a new coach coming in Igor Kokoskov. They're bringing him over from the EuroLeague. But this team just doesn't have a lot of elite talent on it. The West is simply too good. Not to mention, they don't have a point guard. They don't have a starting point guard on this team right now, unless they start Devin Booker in kind of a James Harden role. Look, they had a good offseason. They had a good draft. They might actually break 30 wins for the first time in 3 years. But the Phoenix Suns are not going to win a lot of games this year. I was initially high on them. I thought, maybe they'll squeak out a little playoff run here. But then I started using my brain, and I stopped using my heart. And I realized that the Phoenix Suns are just not going to win a lot of games this year. My projected record for the Suns, 30-52. Big Drew says Devin Booker got that bag, though. He did. Devin Booker got paid this offseason, people. He got a ton of money. Let's go to number 13 on our Western Conference rankings. We're sticking with the bottom here, people, because, again, these teams aren't very good. It's the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't understand the people who look at their roster and say the Memphis Grizzlies are going to the playoffs. They have 1.5 good players right now on this roster that we know are actually good. Mike Conley is a half a player to me. I saw a ranking yesterday that said that Mike Conley was a top 10 point guard. How? He doesn't play. He's never on the court. He's always injured. How can someone be a top 10 player at their position if they're never actually playing their position? Mike Conley is never healthy, and I don't expect him to be healthy again this year. There's nothing that has told us in the past that says that Mike Conley is going to be healthy this year. Marc Gasol was dealing with some weird issues last year as well with his changing role, but they got Jaren Jackson Jr. And that's the most important part about this Grizzlies team is how is Jaren Jackson Jr. going to develop overall this season. Now, personally, I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be a fantastic player for the Grizzlies, but this year, they'll barely win over 30 games. And I would expect Gasol and Conley to start hearing their names in some trade rumors, especially Marc Gasol. They got to get rid of him because he's going to pick up that option next year, and they really, really need to start moving some of those deals. Adam Bernardino says that Mike Conley is the NBA's Aaron Rodgers. No, he's not. Aaron Rodgers is maybe the best player in the NFL. Mike Conley's not the best player in the NBA. That was silly. Let's go to number 12. I got the Los Angeles Clippers because they just don't have any elite player on this team. Tobias Harris is an elite player, despite the fact that he wants basically a supermax contract from the Clippers, which is outrageous. DeAndre Jordan is gone. So all they have left are a couple nice young players and a bunch of weird aging veterans that don't really fit together. They have the weirdest roster in the NBA. Their guard position makes absolutely no sense. They drafted Shea Alexander and Jerome Robinson after already giving Lou Williams a big-time contract, after allowing Milos Teodosic to come back. They're still waiting for Patrick Beverley to come back from injury as well. This team just doesn't really have a focus on it. Like, what are they doing on this team? Is Danilo Gallinari really going to be the leading scorer on this team? Like, Racine Gortat is starting at center. Like, this team has no strategy or future to it. So I have the Clippers as my number 12 team in the Western Conference. I say they win about 34, 35 games this year. Again, someone has to lose games in the Western Conference. We have a lot of fantastic teams, but again, someone has to lose. And the Clippers, to me, are going to be that team that ends up losing a lot of these games this year. 34-48. I know that we don't really look at divisions in the NBA. I get it. But the way that divisions works is that you play the teams in your division more. The Clippers are in a division with the Warriors and the Lakers. They're going to lose a bunch of games this year. Not to mention the Suns and the Kings are going to give the Clippers a run for their money in a couple games down the stretch here. So Clippers coming in at number 12. Let's go to number 11. I'm kind of sad that the Mavericks are in the Western Conference, because if they were in the East, they are absolutely a playoff team. No questions asked. If the Mavericks are in the Eastern Conference, they make the playoffs this season. They have a great starting five of Dennis Smith Jr., Luka Doncic, Harrison Barnes, Dirk, plus DeAndre Jordan. But they just don't have the elite talent that the best teams in the West do. They don't have an Anthony Davis. They don't have a James Harden. They don't have a Steph Curry. They obviously don't have a LeBron James. Like DeAndre Jordan, very good player. Dennis Smith Jr., good rookie. Harrison Barnes, I'm not really crazy about him, though people keep trying to tell me he's a top 10 player at small forward. He's not. He's just playing on a team that has no one else that can score on it. But if Luka Doncic blows up, and I know y'all want to stop hearing me talk about Luka Doncic, but seriously, if Luka Doncic blows up and it's fantastic this year, like rookie of the year level, kind of good, this Mavericks team has a lot of upside. And I do think they can end up making a run for the 8 seed if he's as good as I think he is. But as of right now, again, going to use my head here instead of my heart, giving the Mavericks a full 500 record, going 41-41 this year. So that's the Mavericks at number 11. Let's go to number 10, and we have our first playoff team from last year. Because remember, people, the playoffs have to change, at least the seedings do. Let's go to number 10. We got the Portland Trailblazers. Now, it would be a huge fall for them because they were the number 3 seed in the West last year. Obviously, it was only by one game. They were 49-33. The Oklahoma City Thunder were 48-34. The Timberwolves were 47-35. So the records in the West were very close. I just think the Portland Trailblazers this year are going to be on the other side of a lot of bad games. I mean, their division this year is really tough. They are in the division with the Thunder, the Jazz, the Timberwolves, and the Nuggets. Those are 4 teams that I all expect to likely make the playoffs. Like, I do. This is a very, very good division that they're in. And I just don't think they have the elite talent after Lillard and McCollum. They don't have that third guy. They're still searching for him. Now, they have a couple nice young players in Anthony Simmons and Zach Collins. But the Portland Trailblazers overall simply do not have the raw talent that a lot of other teams do in the West, especially the teams that I have ahead of them. Like, I think the New Orleans Pelicans have a better overall team than they do. I think the Timberwolves have a better team than they do. I think the Spurs have a better team now that DeMar DeRozan is in there. I just think that this Portland team is going to regress. And I have them only winning 43 games after winning 49 last year. A difference of 6 wins is enough to kick you out of the playoffs in the Western Conference. I just don't think that they're going to have the talent down the stretch to carry them like it did last year. So I have the Portland Trailblazers at number 10. Let's go to number 9, another playoff team from last year who I think is going to fall just short. It's the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, it's a little disappointing because I really like what the Pelicans have done this offseason. I like Julius Randle a lot. I like them picking up Elfrid Payton, even though he's probably not going to start. He's just a good, I guess, kind of Rajon Rondo-light kind of player. They do need a starting point guard. I love to see them trade for someone like a Goran Dragic with the Miami Heat. But this is a big, big season for the New Orleans Pelicans. Like, maybe the biggest season in the history of this franchise. Because if they do not make the playoffs, Anthony Davis is gone. He just is. Anthony Davis has made it very clear to this organization that if they are not winning, he will leave. He will leave. And don't be surprised if the Pelicans are struggling by midseason, you start to hear more Anthony Davis trade rumors, because he is the #1 trade target in the NBA right now. Without a question, he is the guy that everyone is circling. Once the Celtics get Kyrie Irving under contract, they're going after Anthony Davis. We know that Ainge is in love with AD. We know that a bunch of other teams are looking to make a move after him as well. Watch out for the Brooklyn Nets to make a run after Anthony Davis as well in the trade market. They could be looking to get an elite player into New York. This is a huge year for them. If they don't make the playoffs, Anthony Davis is gone. Seriously. And personally, I don't think they have enough talent to make the playoffs. Anthony Davis is fantastic. Drew Holiday was one of the best two-way players in basketball last year. But at the end of the day, they just lack the depth, and I think they lack the coaching staff. I'm not a big Alvin Gentry guy. I think he's had one good season with this team, and that was only because he had two of the best players at their entire position right now. So I have the New Orleans Pelicans coming in at number 9. Before we get into my playoff projections for the Western Conference, if you think you know more than me, which you don't, head to chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code CHAT120. You can bet on some of these teams to win the Western Conference and also win the NBA Finals. I'm going to be betting on a couple of these teams. Not yet, because obviously we're not in the playoffs. But go chatsports.com/bet. Follow along with us. Use that promo code, and you can bet on some teams as we continue on here. Let's get into my playoff projections. At number 8, I got the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think this whole Karl Anthony Towns, Jimmy Butler drama, I think it's a little bit overstated, and I also think that this is just classic NBA players are really, really bored right now. And of course, Jimmy Butler is going to start making up some problems. He's seeing everyone in the NBA move around teams, including his best buddy, Kyrie Irving, who just got traded to the Celtics last year. I think Jimmy Butler wants out of Minnesota, but I think he also understands that he needs to have a very good season in order to get the contract that he thinks he deserves. Because I personally don't think that Jimmy Butler is worth a full max contract right now. He has not proven that he is the difference between you winning in the playoffs and losing in the playoffs. And those are the guys who end up with max contracts, except for Andrew Wiggins, which is the worst max contract ever given out in the history of the NBA. But with the Minnesota Timberwolves this year, they just have so much talent on this team. Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns, Wiggins will hopefully take a step forward. Pray on that one. Jeff Teague is still a good starting caliber point guard. Tyus Jones is a good backup. They got Josh Okogie in the draft. This is a good team with a lot of talent on it, and they have an elite center in Karl Anthony Towns. This team just has a huge chance to collapse. All of this very easily could blow up in their faces if Tom Thibodeau does not manage this team correctly. Manage the minutes, use the bench, and just keep Jimmy Butler happy. Because if he's happy, this team is going to perform to the best of their abilities. I know they were the 8th seed last year. I think they'll have a similar record and similar seeding despite Jimmy Butler hopefully playing a fully healthy season. So let's go to number 7 now on my Western Conference rankings. At number 7, I got the Spurs. This might be a little low for them. They were the 7th seed in the NBA last year, or in the Western Conference last year, and that was without Kawhi Leonard. But now they have DeMar DeRozan. They also had Jakob Poeltl, who's a nice bench guy for them as well. If this team was able to win almost 50 games last year without Kawhi Leonard, they can certainly almost hit 50 games again this year with DeMar DeRozan. Now, I don't think they quite reach it. I have their record at about 45-37. I think their division overall got better. They're in a division with the Rockets and the Mavericks. The Grizzlies will have a little bit better of a season as well. So I think the Spurs are going to lose some games this year. But this is a whole new generation for the San Antonio Spurs. The Big Four is gone. I call them the Big Four. I know it was the initial Big Three, but it's kind of the Big Three plus Kawhi. Kawhi is gone. Obviously, Duncan's gone. But now Manu and Tony Parker are both gone. So this is a whole new generation of Spurs team with Dejounte Murray, with LaMarcus Aldridge, with DeMar DeRozan. This is a whole new team, and I'm excited to see what Greg Popovich is going to be able to do with these different chess pieces that he's been able to acquire this offseason. I'm really excited to see what Lonnie Walker is going to be able to do on this team. I think he's going to take a nice step forward. I think Derek White, a guy who you probably don't even know of yet. Derek White was actually the Spurs' first-round draft pick last year and didn't play. Played in the G League for most of the year, got called up, and actually played pretty well in the last couple games and in the playoffs. So they have a lot of young talent on this team that I think is going to kind of join forces here and really make a push for the NBA title with the Spurs this year. But let me know in the comment section below, will the Spurs make the playoffs without Kawhi Leonard? Give me a 1 for yes. Give me a 2 for no. I say yes. I don't think there's any reason why this Spurs team should not end up making the playoffs for the 2 consecutive decades now in a row. This team has as much talent as it did last year, if not more. There's more youth on this team, and Greg Popovich is still there. As long as Greg Popovich is the coach, the Spurs are going to make it to the playoffs. It's like Bill Belichick with the Patriots. As long as he's there, the Pats are going to make the playoffs. So let's go to my number 6 team in the Western Conference. I have the Denver Nuggets. I am stunned. Absolutely stunned that this team did not make it to the playoffs last year. They were the best team in the NBA to not end up with the playoff appearance last year. And if you look at their roster, man, they are deep at every single position. Their backcourt is stacked. Their front court is stacked. They have a lot of depth on the wing as well with a great head coach in Mike Malone. This is a very, very interesting team to watch because Jamal Murray was super fun last year. He should have another great season to take a step forward. Gary Harris had a very good season last year as well. Will Barton is being slotted into the starting lineup. I really like the Isaiah Thomas pickup. He's going to be a great guy to spell Jamal Murray with. I think Malik Beasley is going to take a step forward. And if Michael Porter Jr. ends up actually playing this year, what's going to stop the Denver Nuggets from maybe being a top 5 seed in the West? They have a very, very good division that they play in right now, but I think that the Nuggets are going to surprise a lot of people this year. They should have made the playoffs last year. They should have been better, but now if Paul Millsap can stay healthy, this is an easy playoff team. Easy playoff team. Too much talent, too good of coaching, too many great players at too many positions. This is going to be a really, really good team to watch this year. Denver Nuggets coming in at number 6 for me. Let's go to number 5. I'm still low on them. I still am. And until they prove to me otherwise that they're actually able to win big games, I just can't trust them. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, Melo's gone. I don't know how much of the issue he was. I think a lot of what happened with the Thunder last year was blamed on Melo. He really took the fall for most of what happened to them. He was absolutely the fall guy for the Thunder last year. But now they kind of changed how this team is going to work with him gone and the different moves they made this offseason. This is a very good bench now. They have a much better bench this year than they did last year. They add someone like a Dennis Schroeder. Jeremy Grant has returned, and he's going to be able to kind of switch back and forth between him and Patrick Patterson. They add someone like a Nerlens Noel to spell Steven Adams. Terrence Ferguson is going to have another year under his belt. Andre Roberson is coming back healthy this year as well. This Thunder team has a lot of potential on it, but this comes down to one man and one man only. Billy Donovan. This is a make or break season for him because right now the MO on Billy Donovan with this Thunder team so far, has been an inability to control Russell Westbrook, an inability to win big games, and an inability to control star players. And in the modern day NBA, that simply can't happen. That cannot be a part of your resume that you struggle to control your star players. If Billy Donovan is able to get his act together this year, the Thunder could end up being one of the 3 best teams in the conference. If they don't, we could see a very, very similar season to what we had last year with the Oklahoma City Thunder struggling for a good part of the season before finally ramping it up towards the end. Want to thank Miz and Main again for just making these incredible shirts. They are so, so comfortable, the most comfortable dress shirt I've ever worn. I have so many of these in my closet, 8 to be exact. These are the only button downs I wear. I will never buy another cotton dress shirt now that I've worn a Miz and Main shirt. Head to www.comfortable.af in order to buy yours today. So we just went through most of my Western Conference rankings, but now it's time to get into the truly elite teams in the Western Conference. And let's go to number 4. Y'all really think that the Lakers aren't making the playoffs? Like, are we serious about this? I don't know. Kevin Pelton said that the Lakers aren't going to make the playoffs. A couple articles from The Ringer came out and said that the Lakers aren't making the playoffs. You people are crazy. You people are absolutely crazy. And yes, I mean you people. LeBron James is on the Los Angeles Lakers. Why would they not be a playoff team this year? Why would they not be one of the best teams in basketball? Did we forget the roster that LeBron James had last year and still won 50 games with? Like, do we just have amnesia out of nowhere? Like, this is one of the best teams in the NBA. This is one of the funnest rosters that has been constructed in a long time. Seriously, Rondo, Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, LeBron James, along with the Young Guns. This is a very good roster with a ton of talent on it. Not to mention the upside on the Lakers this year. Come on, this team has the upside to be the best team in the West. What if everything works? What if Lonzo and LeBron James play perfect together? What if Brandon Ingram averages 20 points per game next to LeBron? What if Kuzma's actually as good as he was last year? And these veterans all melt together and fall in line. There is a distinct possibility that this Lakers team ends up being even better than I think they are. This, to me, is absolutely a playoff team. I don't know if they win 50 games. I think 50 is going to be a tough number for them to get to. I have them hitting 49, but they're absolutely a playoff team. LeBron James is on the Lakers. How would they not be a playoff team? Let me know in the comment section below. Give me a Y for yes and give me an N for no. They are a playoff team. They're absolutely a playoff team. I'm flabbergasted that people think otherwise. Let's go to number 3. I asked this Twitter question. I put a poll up before the show, and I was very surprised to see that people think the Lakers are going to be better than the Utah Jazz this year. Now, I am the highest of anyone on the internet on the Utah Jazz this year. And you can book that. I think the Utah Jazz are going to be one of the 5 best teams in all of basketball last year. Without question. I mean, they were the best defensive team in the NBA last year. They had the best rookie, in my opinion, in Donovan Mitchell. They have a top 3 head coach in Quinn Snyder. There's no reason why this team should take a step back. And if you aren't on the Jazz bandwagon right now, you should get on it because we're leaving the station. We're out of here. Rubio had a great year last year. Joe Ingles, my love, he was fantastic last year as well. This Jazz team surprised a lot of people last year. And I think this year they're going to continue to be as good. This is a 50-win roster for me and a team that I think is going to make it to the Western Conference Finals. They're deep, they're smart, and they're great on defense. If Rudy Gobert can play a full 82 games, this team's going to win 50 games, without a question. So I have the Utah Jazz coming in at number 3. Let's go to number 2 in the West. You can probably play a little deductive reasoning and probably play a little guessing game as to what the rest of our rankings look like. But at number 2, it's the Houston Rockets. I don't think they're going to win 60 games this year. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. But I think 55 wins is a good number for this Rockets team to, just kind of temper your expectations on. They still have CP3. They still have James Harden. And they still have Clint Capella. So this team is still going to be elite. They're still going to be one of the best teams in the NBA, despite missing Trevor Reeves and Luke Mbah-a-Moute. Now, when I went on my week-long vacation, I really sat and thought, how much worse are the Rockets really going to be this year? How bad could they really be without Trevor Reeves and Luke Mbah-a-Moute? And then it kind of hit me. They're not going to be that much worse. Like, Trevor Reeves is a nice player. Luke Mbah-a-Moute was a nice player. But this is still one of the best offenses in basketball. They still have those big 3 guys in CP3, Harden, and Clint Capella. They added Carmelo Anthony, and if he is actually the player that we're hoping he could be on this team, the Rockets will be fine from a scoring standpoint. The only question mark for me this year is the Rockets' health over the course of a season. Harden was a little bit nicked up last year. We know CP3 can't really play full healthy seasons anymore. So they got a lot of questions on the health side of the ball, but this Rockets team is still going to be elite. So I have the Rockets coming in at number 2. And if you have a brain, who else is going to be the number 1 team in the West? I know the Rockets won the West last year. I get that the Warriors probably aren't going to, blow it up this year in the regular season and win 70 games, but the Warriors are going to win the West this year. I don't have them winning 60 games. I just think that they're going to be resting guys a lot this year. I think they saw in the playoffs and including in the finals, they just had a lot of guys who started to get a little bit run down towards the end, especially with, Draymond Green with the amount of minutes he's been playing over the past couple of years. Same thing with Steph Curry, same thing with Andre Iguodala. I think they're going to start to temper a lot of their minutes. When DeMarcus Cousins comes back, they're going to be able to make sure that everyone's minutes are all evened out. But this is still the best team in the NBA. This is maybe the best team of all time. Seriously, if Cousins comes back at 90%, This is the most talented starting five to have ever stepped foot on a court. You could argue maybe one of the Bulls teams in the 90s. Maybe you could argue the 86 Celtics, or maybe you could argue one of the fantastic Lakers teams with Magic Johnson. But I think this Warriors team is better. 2 MVPs, the best center in basketball, the best defensive player, in my opinion, in the NBA, in Draymond Green, plus Klay Thompson, who's probably a Hall of Famer in his own right by the end of his career. You could legitimately have 5 Hall of Famers. Though all 5 of those guys, probably not Cousins, but all 5 of those guys by the end of their career could legitimately be a Hall of Famer. So obviously, I have the Golden State Warriors as my number 1 team in the Western Conference this year. Who will win the West? Let me know in the comments section below. Seen a lot of great comments from it. And Gavin Hall saying, this just isn't fair. It's not. We have Harry saying that this is a 2K starting 5. It really is. It's almost as if someone turned on auto trade on their franchise mode and just traded for all the best players in the NBA, which I used to do. Guilty as charged. Let's go back through my Western Conference rankings before we end our show today. 11 through 15, the Mavericks, the Clippers, the Grizzlies, the Suns, and the Kings making up the bottom third of the Western Conference. Going to the middle here and into some playoff teams. Got the Denver Nuggets at 6. Got the San Antonio Spurs at number 7. Got the T-Wolves at 8. The Pelicans at 9. And the Portland Trail Blazers at 10. And then into the top 5, the Warriors at 1. Obviously, the Rockets at 2, the Jazz at 3, the Lakers at 4, and the Oklahoma City Thunder coming in at number 5. Want to also have you guys subscribe to our NBA channel here on Chat Sports. Search NBA Now by Chat Sports. All of our full shows, as well as some fun segments, will be posted on that YouTube channel. If you can't get enough of the NBA content that we have here at Chat Sports, go subscribe to that channel today. And remember, hit up chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code CHAT120 to get our 120% deposit bonus.